Holy shit, it worked! Oh my god, it worked! Guys, it worked! I am from the future. I came back to show you time travel works, and it worked. Not only did it work though, but I am going to now show you everything that we discussed. Everything about Marty having a single timeline that he keeps just fucking up over and over again. And we're going to talk about it right now. Shh. Fuck. Shit. Hey guys. Welcome to Red Balloon Films. Guys, we are going to be talking about Back to the Future. And I'm going to show you that I have fixed all of the plot holes. I have solved them all. And over the course of this video, I'm going to show you that not only have I solved all of the plot holes, but I've done so by showing there is a single timeline. There's not multiple timelines or multiple realities coexisting at once, or branch timelines. There is a single timeline getting changed over and over again by Doc and Marty. And I'm going to try and show some proof of this, but don't go, because this video has something special. I have also invented time travel. That's right. And right now, I am going to go back in time to before this video even started. I'm going to show you how time travel works. Okay. Oh, hold on. Oh, cool. Got a hat. Alright, got some gloves. Here we go. Now, 3, 2, 1. Holy shit! That was insane! Holy shit! A bastard took my sunglasses. He took me hat and sunglasses. You know what? It's okay. I got spare ones. We'll just use these. Holy shit, guys. Can you believe that? Oh my god, that was insane. I came back from the future, and what happened? Past me walks into the room. How could I not even see that coming? Okay, let's take a breath. We'll take a breath. Okay. Do you know what we can do? Let's talk about Back to the Future. Alright, we'll deal with that and later on. But Back to the Future. How does it work, guys? Well, first of all, I'm going to share with you a quick video. Okay, and in this video, we can see Doc Brown discussing time travel. So let's see what Doc Brown has to say about time travel. Come on, Doc, let's see your illustration.
Imagine that this line represents time.
Okay.
1985, the future, and the past. Prior to this point in time, somewhere in the past, the timeline skewed into this tangent, creating an alternate.
It sure did.
Alternate to you, me, and Einstein, but reality for everyone else. Recognize this? It's the bag the sports book came in. I know, because the receipt is still inside. I found them in a time machine. Along with this.
Now, let's stop here for a moment. So, the proper explanation of what Doc was trying to say is, essentially, I'm going to play it out, first of all, the way Doc explains it. And just try and show why it's not 100% correct, right? So, with time, Doc is saying, essentially, here's your timeline, okay? And at some point before 1985, essentially, Biff went back, gave himself the almanac, right? So we know when it was. So let's just say here. And he's saying, now we have this timeline, and he draws it like so, right? And this is 1985A, as he calls it, right? And it's basically the correct timeline for everybody other than him, Einstein, and Marty. Okay, now that makes sense, except with the way he's illustrated it, it makes it look like these two timelines coexist. And that's not how time works, right? The way time works in Back to the Future as a film is that only one timeline ever exists, and it's just constantly changing over time whenever they change something. And this is not only explained by Doc multiple times in little iterations, like when he's talking about Jennifer and Einstein being stuck in the wrong future, right? They're stuck here somewhere. And he says, don't worry about it. If we go back here, stop this from happening, then time around them will automatically change. Essentially saying that it won't just bring them here. It's saying this time will change. So how time actually exists, right? In Back to the Future, how it actually works. Let me just make that big. Is like so, right? And I'm going to prove this as well. You have the timeline. But what happens is Doc and Marty go back to Marty goes back to 1955 and he runs over one of the pines. So it's no longer Twin Pine Mall, it's Lone Pine Mall. Change. And we have a new timeline. But it completely replaces the old, and that's the point. That one no longer exists. It's gone. And when you go back in time and make any change, no matter how small or big, it creates a new reality where that change has happened. So even if that change is as simple as stepping on a blade of grass that wasn't previously stepped on, then the timeline in which it was not previously stepped on is gone. And all that remains is the timeline in which it was stepped on. Now, that may be undiscernible for you in regards to everything else that happens. There may be no other changes, and therefore you couldn't tell the two apart. But it's still a new timeline. It's still a new reality. And just like Twin Pine Malls used to exist, it doesn't anymore. Lone Pine Malls now exists. But within this timeline change, he does more than just run over a pine, right? He nearly loses his brother and sister and stops his mum and dad from meeting. But of course we have the entire crux of that film, which means that in this timeline we have new parents who are more confident in 1985 and everything's great. Biff is less confident. That's fine. But then 2015 Biff, well, he goes back in time, right? And what does he do? He basically removes the timeline. And he gives himself the almanac, thus creating a new timeline. And in this timeline, everything's fucked. It's all fucked, right? He's like a millionaire, he's got casinos, he's got everything. It's insane. Let me show you a couple of the forms of evidence that we have, right? The first thing is Marty. If he went back in time, so we've been able to see every time Marty goes back to 1955, or when Marty goes back to 1955, he's constantly getting in the way of all the shit that actually happened originally. And it's causing his parents to not meet or not get together. And for whatever reason, we see his brother and his sister disappearing. If he went back in time to 1955 and it created a new timeline, it wouldn't affect his photo. It would simply stop the kids from ever being born in this new reality. If that other reality coexisted at the same time, that photo would be unaffected. And of course we see Marty. He's here vanishing and dying and not existing anymore. And again, he's from this timeline. This is Marty's timeline. So if the two of them coexisted, if the two timelines coexisted, then any changes Marty here, it would just stop a Marty being born in Lone Pines timeline, right? So again, we have Twin Pines and we have Lone Pines, right? And if Marty stops his parents meeting, it just means Marty doesn't exist in Lone Pines, but he would still exist in the timeline he's originally from, and therefore he shouldn't be vanishing. But again, that's not how time works. Marty is from the same timeline as the one he's affecting. He goes back in time. It essentially erases everything in his future, and he's changing it, and now he's on the same timeline, but whatever this future is with the photograph and his siblings, if he keeps fucking things up here, they won't exist because it's all one timeline. And of course, we have the letter. Now, this is an exceptional piece of evidence because Doc Brown goes back from 2015 to 1885, and he sends Marty a letter. Now, if he makes a change, which he does, right? He stops a woman from dying, he changes the name of the ravine, he does lots of other things, right? But as soon as he makes a change, we've got a new timeline. And how we know they're not coexisting with each other is because Doc, down here, sends a letter to 1985 to Marty. And Marty gets that letter. Our Marty gets that letter. Now, that couldn't happen if Doc has changed reality. If Doc has created a brand new timeline, which he would have, the letter would have gone to a Marty in that timeline, not Marty in our original timeline. So again, how it's explained is very, very easy. There is only one timeline. We have a singular timeline. Doc gets sent back to 1885. He sends a letter forward to 1985 to Marty. Doc sends it forward. Marty gets the letter. Marty goes back to 1885. Saves Doc, right? So it's all happening on one timeline. Lastly, and this is where we get most of the people who talk about various different plot holes, we have Back to the Future 2. Back to the Future 2, we have this pleb right here, Biff, taking the almanac, bringing it back to 1955, giving it to his past self, creating an alternate 1985 Biff who's rich and a dickhead, killed George, Doc Brown is in an asylum, all mad shit going on. But this Biff, he goes back to 2015 and he fades away and dies because all the changes he made, yes, it led to his wealth and happiness in 1985, but by the time we got to 2015, he no longer exists, which is why he disappears. He no longer exists is because Lorraine kills him, takes his money, and uses it in order to improve everything around them. So people will say, how does Biff get back to the original time? 55, 85, and 15. Now, Biff goes from here to here, gives himself the almanac, goes from here to here, everything is amazing, and when he gets back, when old Biff gets back to 2015, he then dies. He's like gonzo, right? He's dead. Ugh. But it's all on a single timeline. If Biff had gone back to 55, created a new timeline, when he went to the future, it would have been the future of that timeline, which Doc and Marty wouldn't have been there. So Doc and Marty would have been stranded in 2015 with no DeLorean. That can't happen. So we know there is only one timeline. Hopefully, guys, that makes sense. If we look very quickly at the events of Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3, we'll see we've got Twin Pines, Marty and Doc. And then you've got the just about alcoholic mum, nearly dad who never fulfilled any of his potential, and a dickhead Biff. Well, what happens? Well, Doc and Marty go back in time to 1955. They create a brand new timeline. This is essentially gone now. It doesn't exist. We don't even need to have it there. And on a new timeline, they get involved with everything. It means Biff becomes a geeky version of himself. The parents are now confident, rich, fulfilled. Mum's no longer an alcoholic. And Dad's no longer a loser. But of course, what happens? Well, Biff here goes back to 1955. He then creates the brand new timeline, giving the almanac to his younger self, so we can get rid of that. This is all that remains. Now, Biff gives the almanac to his younger self. It leads here to him being rich and famous, But as we know, when Biff travelled back, he no longer existed and he dies. Now, Marty and Doc, what do? They go back to 1955. They start to fix everything. And in fixing it, when they return to 1985, they don't return back to this timeline. What happens is they go back to that original timeline. They come back here again. Everything's fine. Everything's normal. Right? The events are still the same. Now, this is still a different timeline than it previously was, right? Originally, Biff was never given an almanac, never chased Marty down a road, never saw Marty flying off in a DeLorean, but he still gets punched out by George. George and his mum still stay the same. Now, when this all happens, one more thing happens. Doc gets shoved back to 1885. It creates a new timeline. He makes changes in 1885. He sends a letter to himself, to Marty. Marty goes back and helps him. However, that is where the changes stop. Right? When we look at all the changes they made, it stops here. Now, everything that they did in 1955, nearly fucking up the parents, nearly causing himself to not be born, that was all still done. Right? But all the changes that he went back and made in order to help his dad become cool, that had all still been done. Of course, the events with the almanac also still took place. But it also ended with Biff not having the almanac, leaving us with Marty's parents being cool, Biff being a geek, Doc and Marty being okay, Doc's obviously flying around on his train, and now we have a completely unknown future. Nobody knows where this future is going to go. So guys, I hope that explains everything that we've talked about. Can you think of any plot holes that show up because of it being a singular timeline? Because all plot holes that exist in this film and all plot holes that people talk about only occur because people are under the impression separate timelines coexist as those guys make changes. And that's just not how it works. It's all happening in one timeline. As you saw, I go back in time, I walk into the room, and all of a sudden another version of me comes in. I'm not in a separate version of time than him. It's all the same timeline. I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Guys, I am going to do another video of the it's going to be basically the infinite Marty paradox, right? The infinite Marty paradox and the infinite Doc paradox, because it is the one inconsistency in Back to the Future that cannot be resolved. And I want to talk about that in the next video. We will also do a video that talks about how often does Marty McFly actually die in Back to the Future, because he dies a lot more than people think. So keep your eye open for that video. Look forward to talking to you guys. It's been brilliant. Now, I had fun. I am back in time. I am going to go now and get myself a lovely sandwich. Going back in time traveling, it makes you hungry. I'm going to get a sandwich, guys. I will talk to you in a bit. Have a good one. And I will see you guys later. I thought they'd never leave. Hi, I'm John. I'm John from the future. I'm John from Wait, what year is it? I'm John from the year 2055. Now, I need your help. In 2055, all cars and everything are electronic. And if you're not a YouTuber, you have to work in the cobalt mines. Every country has one. It's like slavery in the mines. So I need to help you. My channel in 2055 still hasn't hit 1,000 subscribers. I'm still not monetized. What have you been doing? Help me.
if you can help me get to 1,000 subscribers in 20, what year is this? 2024, then I may stand a chance in the future. Please help me. Now, I must go. I need to tell my past self to stop eating so many pies. Okay, here we go. Away! Oh, away, away.